The Mets are 3-3 since the last episode. They went 1-2 versus Washington, 2-1 versus Atlanta. They are 69-61 overall, 5-5 in their last 10. 7 games back of Philadelphia, 6.5 back of Chicago for wild card 1, 4.5 back of whoever's second in the NL West with the Dodgers and Padres tied for wild card 2, and they're 1.5 up on Cincinnati for that third wild card. It hasn't been great in Citi Field in Queens. The Yankees have taken a lot of the brunt force of being the failure in New York City. It's kind of hidden how bad the Mets have been, and the Mets have arguably been worse.
Oh, for sure. I don't even think I'd say arguably. I'd say that they've definitely been worse.
Now, John, obviously this is your, rival. This is our crosstown rival, so we're a little bit more removed.
I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, obviously, the Mets had a really, really good start to the season. I mean, their pitching was pitching well above expected. I mean, you had Canning who was pitching out of his mind, but then he got hurt, but he was already on, trending downward before he got hurt. I mean, it's just, it was just bound to happen. I mean, that they were going to eventually fall off. I mean, I think they have a bit of a bright spot now. I think with the pitcher they just brought up, I forget the name, but I think it's a pitcher they just brought up.
It is, yeah. They have a couple guys that they're bringing up,
and they're gonna have to rely heavily on them. I forget the name. I wish I knew. I should have wrote the name down.
So I mean, they have a couple names. They brought up Nolan McLean. They got Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong also in the wings. I believe we're going to see all three of them, those two in addition to McLean. So the Mets are getting younger and the future is looking brighter, but is it too little too late to get these young guys going?
I mean, considering where they are right now, because they're still in the wild card race, I don't know if they're going to be able to catch up and pass the Phillies and keep a lead against the Phillies. But I mean, you get them going. I mean, they're going up. The their younger pitchers are doing good. I mean, because that's who they're going to have to rely on if they want any chance of making the playoffs and doing anything in the playoffs. You have to rely heavily on them, and they have to really come through and produce for them. So I think it's, better late than never, more so not,
Right.
So,
the thing that I'll say is the Mets timeline is quite interesting because obviously Pete Alonso on a shorter deal, him and Lindor, more veteran players. But you did enter the era of Juan Soto when you gave Soto the massive deal. And kind of now everything revolves around the Juan Soto timeline. And it's obviously he's in his prime and ready to compete, but you didn't have to rush to do everything this particular offseason. However, when you are the Mets with a billionaire owner, with a roster that has a lot of veteran talent, and then you give out $800 million, the expectation is to win baseball games. And the Mets, I think, are going to make the playoffs. Obviously, it's possible that they miss if there's a collapse here at the end of the year, but I don't see this as a World Series caliber team. And ultimately, that's kind of how I judge playoff teams. Can they win the World Series, or are they just here to be eliminated at some point? And baseball is a funny sport where it really is never say never, because a team can get hot for a couple of weeks and all of a sudden they're tied 2 games apiece in the CS. And let's go, see what happens. And I do think the Mets have the lineup for that, but I would give them a less than 5% shot of making the World Series.
Yeah, it's tough. Their window is, they're not constructed great for the Soto era. A lot of veteran guys. By the time a lot of this young talent is ready to go, you're talking Lindor is going to be older. Marte's on his way out. Nimmo's older on the downswing. Alonso will be either on another team if they don't re-sign him, or, getting towards the, twilight years. All it takes is 2 seasons for a guy to really show his age. Soto, who knows if he'll be able to continue playing right field in 3 seasons from now, if he'll have to be a full-time DH or first baseman. So it's tough when you have a lot of veteran, guys in your lineup combined with a lot of youthful arms. Now they
Yeah.
do have some very good guys in the wings: Jet Williams, Carson Benz, Ryan Clifford, but those guys all just got to AAA, and none of them are a guarantee. So they're going to need to really focus on winning in the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years max, is right now what their window truly is, unless a lot of these younger guys take that big step forward and become all-star guys, superstar players, which, again, not a guarantee, possibility, but not a guarantee.
I don't know if we're necessarily that far off. I think if this offseason they let Alonso walk and they give the money they would have given him to a real strong starting pitcher and then bring in just kind of another guy, that lineup is still potent enough next year if you still get what you're getting out of Lindor and Soto, and Alvarez can stay healthy and produce for you. You can move Vientos to first, have Beatty be your everyday third baseman. You still have Nimmo in the outfield, Diaz as the closer. If you brought in a high-end starter or two, I think it's just a much more balanced team. Right now, this team is very reliant on the bats if they're going to have postseason success, similar to what it was last year. And don't get me wrong, Severino and Manaea both had some very memorable postseason performances for the Mets, and Quintana and that series versus the Phillies. Like, they were firing on all cylinders. But ultimately, against the Dodgers, you saw it catch up to them. And you go out and get Soto.
Yeah.
And now that's your cornerstone for the next presumably half decade. And I think that it's fine that they're not great this year, but I think we can call a spade and say the expectations of the New York Mets going into the year of some people picking them to win the World Series were lofty and high based on some obvious flaws on the team.
And the reason I gave the Mets that, 5-year window is 5 years from now, Nimmo will be 37. Lindor will be 36. Soto will be 30, 31. So these guys will be on the wrong side of 30. You'll have a couple younger guys, but you don't know how guys, when they get to their 30s, how the fall off is. You can see injuries mount up like Mike Trout, Ken Griffey Jr., who are great players, but had, seasons marred by injury. Andrew Jones is another one who, as soon as he hit 30, fell off a cliff. Or you can see other guys who are like David Ortiz, hopefully Aaron Judge, guys that as they get their 30s, even Giancarlo Stanton now, who are still able to play at a high level and adapt in their 30s.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to plan too far down the line for the Mets, but again, you signed Soto to the contract that you did. It doesn't have to be all in year one.